pretty sure I've seen that with the whole thingy. Just so Nuncio can add up the video to the audio later.
Have the little...
I'm pretty sure that's what they do in real life.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely peed a little bit. That was kind of scary.
Real right now?
Not too much to worry, but, just enough to be spooked.
All right. So we're just going to kind of swing right into it.
All right.
You're going to hear my podcast voice as it deepens down. I start making bedroom eyes at the camera.
Oh, okay.
All right. Here we are. Welcome back to the Barcode Collective podcast. I'm your host, Jacob. I got Maddie, if you're watching on YouTube, to my left over here. And then we got Deni over here. So one of the things about the Fit Bar and the podcast as a whole is that we wanted to gather stories from not only experts in the health and fitness industry, but also we want to really interact with our customers and our clients and the people who we're interacting with. And what comes out of that is that these guys have stories to tell. They're experts in different fields, and we lose sight of that because maybe they're not on Instagram, they're not on TV, and we feel like those people are the only ones with some shit to share. Well, that's not really the case. We have interactions day in and day out with amazing people, and we want to bring those stories to the forefront. And that's why you're here, my friend.
Okay.
Maddie has told me she's had quite a few conversations with you over at the Sierra Madre Fit Bar. And she was like, Jacob, you got to talk to this guy, hear his story. And that's why we're here, man. Okay. So I'm going to let Maddie also kind of do a little intro and kind of bring this conversation to light. So tell me about some of those conversations and why you're like, all right, we got to get Deni on.
Well, for starters, I always, every single morning, even before we started talking, I would see you, your wife, and your daughters walking all around town. I'd see you in one spot of town, and then I'd drive to another spot, and you'd somehow beat me there. And I'm like, what is this family doing? This is so cool to see this family of 2 young daughters, and then a young couple constantly on the move. And then I don't know what it was. I think you guys came in one day for bowls and stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. The active family's coming in. This is who I want to talk to. And then, we just had very few conversations. But they're conversations that really, really stuck out to me. And I think could leave an impact on other people. And we've only spoken very surface level. Mm-hmm. But I always end up feeling inspired. And that's something really special, and it's qualities that not a lot of people are able to highlight. So I'm really grateful to be able to highlight these things with you. So
let me shed a little light. For someone listening, like, oh, why is that so cool that you just see a young family walking around and we're so inspired? But at the end of the day, we're a family-run business, and a big part of our conversation is trying to figure out how to balance life, work, be successful as ambitious entrepreneurs. But what does all of that even mean if you can't do that with a family? What our driving force is to have that someday. So when I see a family or a guy, who has a baby sitting on his lap and he's here middle of the day having a coffee or whatever it is, I'm like, damn, I want that. That's why we're doing this. So when we see that, it jumps out at us as like, man, that's really what we're hoping to attain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
And at times it seems so far-fetched, but then in our conversations that we have, you always, even if it's about you or your wife's occupations and things like that, you will always bring up, it always circles back to your daughters. And that's just so amazing because you guys just make life work and you thrive and are able to do you and then be parents. And I think that's amazing. And that really is just so beautiful. So anyway, I'll stop blabbing.
Yeah. So, we like to share the story, the life journey, for us, it's a very engaged process. We believe that life doesn't necessarily happen to, we're engaged in it, So tell me a little bit about, your story, how you ended up here in California, go back as far as you like. And I'm all ears, man, because I haven't heard it yet.
Okay. Where do I start from? First of all, I think the misconception about marriage and union and 2 people coming together has always been I want somebody who has the same qualities as me or who has common goals as me. That's a kind of a huge misconception, because if you're someone who likes to argue and you get someone who likes to argue, then you argue a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So once I got into psychology, I have a bachelor's in psychology. I have a master's in social psychology. I came into the mindset that if I'm of this personality, I need to find someone with a sort of opposite personality. So where I have my extremes, they have their lows. And where I have my lows, they have their extremes. So where I'm weak, they're strong. Where I'm strong, they're weak. And that way, we could help each other. So I found, when I was trying to get married, I was thinking all my female friends. I said, oh, who's the one who's more quiet and calm? Because I'm up and about. And I realized that there's this one girl that I always talk to, and when I blah 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 blah, she's always just quiet and listening to me. And I thought I would like that for a wife, you know. So we were just talking as friends, and I said, you know what, I like talking to you a lot, but I'm gonna not talk to you for 6 months so I can figure out if there's anybody else like you and if I want to be with you. She thought I was crazy. But it didn't take me 6 months. 3 months later, I called her up and I said, hey, do you want to get married?
Just like that. Wow.
Yeah, and she was shocked. She was like, what are you saying? So I had to say that like 4 or 5 times, like in a week. I kept on saying every day, do you want to get married? Do you want to get married? I'm serious. I'm not joking. Do you want to get married? And she said, okay, how do you go about it? I said, talk to your mom. I'll talk to my parents. And we're Nigerian. So we have this thing where the parents have to accept. And if the parents don't accept, that's it. That's a wrap. So she talked to her parents. I talked to mine. We came together and all that stuff, and so many other.
Yeah. So I got a couple questions about that already, man. So like, I think generally understanding, I think that makes a lot of sense to us, right? That, you know, we want somebody to kind of fill in our blanks. Like for me, like I 100% understand that, and I agree. What I end up seeing though is like things that run so deep within me that even though that's the case, that I'm making this conscious decision to find somebody different than me, what bubbles up is these interactions, and where you're almost trying to turn that person into you, you know, like, even though, like, so naturally you find that person who's opposite, but there's like very underlying deep rooted issues from your past, your upbringing, multi-generational, whatever it might be, that ends up like subconsciously coming out to kind of change that dynamic. And you know what I mean? So it's like, I know what you mean. It's tough.
I know what you mean. But behaviorists say that human behavior doesn't change. What changes is the environment. The environment means the circumstance, the situation, the cause, the problems. So your environment is, it gets too hot here, your behavior would change. You'd be talking, but you'd be talking faster, you'd be doing that. And that's the environment that changes your behavior and your adaptability and functionality in this whole setting. So human behavior exactly does not change. You could take this pretty lady and say, you know what? I'm going to make you into like a president. No. Except she's at a point where she feels the need to lead people. So the environment becomes the point where she's seen so many things and she feels like, I need to change that. And then she'll say, I want to actually, to change that, I have to get to this point where I'm the one leading everyone.
Yeah, how would you define environment? So, you know, it's easy to imagine, again, hot, you know, just different areas. But would you also say that like changing, say, something like your morning routine almost is influencing your environment to the point where it's like, if I'm stressed, my environment, like I am stressed, I react in a certain way. So if I don't change that, and that could be like, okay, waking up and doing 30 minutes of solo time so that you're less stressed throughout the day, or removing the job that stresses you. Like environment is a lot of things, right? It's like what kind of
Environment is literally almost everything.
Yeah.
But for instance, let's say waking up in the morning. You wake up at 9 every day. You get a new job. That's the environment. That's the cause. You join the military. That's the environment. You have to wake up at 5:15 or 5 o'clock in the morning, or 4:15 sometimes. So the environment becomes the cause, the reason for that behavior to change. It demands of your behavior to change. Your morning behavior changes, and the morning leads to the afternoon leads to the evening, and it leads to the time you sleep, and all that changes. So nobody is really, the behavior of anyone can't be changed by anyone, really. So people have that ideology that, oh, I'll try to change her into this person that I am. But no, once you come to the acceptance that who you got is who you got. What will change the environment? What will change that person is the situation. Now, my wife, she was different. She likes to rest and sleep and chill. When we were living in Hawaii, when she comes back from work, it's all sleep. I go to the beach, surf, do everything I'm supposed to do, chill. And I come home and she's probably still sleeping, or she's made food and stuff like that. But now we had babies. The environment has changed.
Right.
You can't afford to do that. So now she's a whole different person. Wakes up in the morning. And now we had another baby. She feels like, after the first baby, sometimes it's easy for women to drop the weight. After the second baby is a little harder. So she thought, okay, let me join my husband in this walks. I didn't have to say, join me. I didn't have to say, lose the weight. I didn't have to say anything. She thought to herself, let me join him. And in that process of walking, so many things happen. The kids sleep. It's good for us. We stop somewhere, have a acai bowl.
That's right.
So that environment, all that leads to the change that you want to see in that person.
Yeah.
If you want to get a snake out of a hole, if the snake is comfortable in that hole, you have to change the temperature in that hole.
Right.
You have to smoke it. You have to make it hot. Yeah, if you put fire in that hole, that's the environment right there. The snake will come out.
Yeah.
So, same thing.
Yeah. Now, speaking of environment and heat, you just experienced the opposite, man. So we threw you in ice baths. So I appreciate you for being willing to do that, man.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that experience, man, and then jumping into the ice and changing your environment from nice, cool 78 degrees in here to a quick 33.
Man, that was definitely it was a touch of both life suddenly changing, and you just being in touch with every single feeling in your body. That's what that felt like. Sometimes life switches like that. In January, I planned so many trips. Going to London, I'm going to Africa, I'm going to Hawaii. I had a conference, in March. I had all these trips planned. God forbid I bought ticket. And, I never bought tickets, but I almost did.
Yeah.
Especially for the Hawaii one. And coronavirus came. That was like all of a sudden. So how you manage it is up to you, you know. But if you're going up and down and you can get in a shock.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's always better to just kind of slowly just chill and
Yeah.
pay attention to all your feelings, see how you feel about it, and let it settle.
Yeah. That's exactly what we want people to acknowledge and experience, that life, what all happens out here, there's a lot of shit out of our control. COVID, there's a lot out of our control. And we can always think that we're going to handle that in the most confident, collected way. But you don't know until it hits the fan. So jumping into something like the ice bath, it gives you a little bit of test of that fight or flight, how you react to stressful situations in a safe environment, you know? So, so it's probably the bigger thing that we talk about here. Yeah, there's some physiological benefits of the ice, but what's even more important in this day and age is creating some mental fortitude and getting comfortable with dealing with struggle that sure as hell ain't going anywhere. You did all right. You did good. You literally gave birth to an ice baby.
Ice baby.
We were doing Kegel breathing exercises, or not? Not Kegel. Wait a second. What's it called?
Oh my God.
What is it?
Give me the word. Give me the word that they take women through labor. The breathing protocols. Kegel is when
no.
Kegel is what I've been doing this entire time, just flexing my gooch.
And one, and two, and
give me that.
Lamaze.
Lamaze breathing.
Right?
I don't know. Fuck. We'll edit that.
I think it is Lamaze. Yeah.
All right. So walking around Sierra Madre. First off, you mentioned you living in Hawaii.
Yeah.
How'd you find yourself out there?
We got married there.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did our whole wedding thing in Nigeria, and the Nigerian culture, we have like 4 different stages of wedding. It's not just go to the altar or sign a paper. So first there's something called introduction, and then that's introduction when the families both come together and say, hey, my son's thinking about marrying your daughter, what you think? And then the family of the lady gets back to you and say, we accept you, because they have to accept you. And then they set a date for something we call a traditional wedding. And that's where you do the wedding in front of like elders and parents and everybody. You bring a bride price. You have to give they give you a whole list. And sometimes it consists of things that you can only find in one part of the country. And sometimes it's hard, but it's just how deep are you willing to go to get this girl?
Yeah.
That's basically what it means.
What are some examples of that?
I mean, they could tell you to go find a fish that you can only get in a certain ocean or something like that.
You know, we made it when what makes it on the list is an acai bowl from the Fit Bar. And you got to bring this shit back to Nigeria cold. Cold. It can't be, melted acai bowl by the time it gets back to Nigeria.
And well, nothing that impossible, but yeah.
So traditional.
Yeah, but then it's all about like just showing how far you're willing to go for that woman, And so you do that traditional thing, and then you go on to the white wedding, which is the church. No, you go to the court, then you go to church, and then after the church you do Thanksgiving. Yeah. So Thanksgiving is just thanking everyone. Hey, thank you. It's a whole different thing.
Showing gratitude.
And did you guys did you meet her in Nigeria?
We met in Ghana.
Okay.
We met in Ghana, and we planned a lot of trips again. We met again in Nigeria, and when we decided to get married, we said, where are we going to live? What should we do? Okay, let's get married in Hawaii and see what happens next. So we went down to Hawaii, got married. She had got a job. We stayed there for a year or two. And we said, you know what? This is a never-ending holiday.
Yeah.
Let's try something else.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tradition with the way you were married in Nigeria. How do you feel that tradition holds up to current times? I mean, because the thing about traditions is it's been done forever, generations before us. Is some of that being lost as things change in the world, or is that tradition just as strong as ever? And then without it, do you think marriage success would be higher, lower? What are your thoughts on how that influences the actual marriage itself?
That's an excellent question.
Yes, that's a very good question. That tradition might never be lost. It might never be lost. But it doesn't hold up as strong as before, because now So many things are coming up, like with the whole COVID situation right now. Things are being modified. Sometimes a family member who's supposed to be there can't come. Maybe the only living relative of that person or something can come. You have to modify things now. But that tradition is, in my opinion, very good, because there's a lot that goes into the preparation of the wedding and the marriage. And it's more like preparing you to get married and not just to do a wedding.
Yeah.
It's more like preparing your acceptance. You accept the family, you accept, I see a lot of people say, oh, I don't talk to my wife's family or something. You can't really do that back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really do that. Because we say you get married to the family, you don't get married to the person.
Yeah.
You live with the person and grow together, but now your families come together.
Yeah.
Through you both. Over here, unfortunately, marriage is so easy. There's even a drive-through
chapel.
Yeah, I heard about, and it's not sad, but it's just a door to. It's like a free. How would I put it? It's just giving people a way to accomplish their wish. Literally, like your dreams can come true in like 5 seconds, and then you could also change it in the next 5 minutes. You could mail your divorce papers, and you don't divorce like that back home. If you want to get divorced, you have to go back to the family, give back. The wife's family has to give back all those bride price and everything that you paid and you bought. They have to take it back, and it has to be a whole ceremony all over. So because of that, we work hard to see that the marriage stays. There's so much already put into it. There's so many family things into it, but divorces still happen. But, of course, when you have violent people or something, you have to get out of it.
Now, do you think that in the traditional sense and like the Western sense, do you think that societal pressures play a role on either the creation of or maintaining relationships, whether it's marriage or whether it's divorce? I know a lot of couples that are in it for the convenience or because they don't want to go through the craziness that divorce has to offer. And then even creating relationships. I know a lot of people who maybe weren't necessarily ready for a relationship, but they wanted to do it for the gram or because all their friends are getting married or things like that.
Yes.
Going back to what you were saying earlier about the behavior, do you think that the societal pressures, like those environments, affect those behaviors, like in convincing yourself?
Yes, it definitely affects the reason. And now, if you're building a house, the first thing you have to make sure you do right is the foundation. Now, if the foundation is wrong, the whole house will crumble at some point. It'll look like it's beautiful and it's long lasting, but one day, it'll crumble. So the same thing with marriage, the same thing with relationships. The foundation is the most important thing. Why are you getting married? Just for your feelings? Feelings are hot or cold. One day, this coffee cup is cold. Next minute is hot. Next minute is cold. So you get married for this heightened feeling that you have right now. Oh, I feel this good about this person. It is nothing else apart from that feeling. That person probably... there's nobody wrong or right for anyone. But there's just certain things you have to look at. What do we both want to achieve? This person is telling you, I want to live in Africa. And you've told yourself, I want to live in Asia. So you're always going to have that division. So why on earth are you still thinking, we're going to get married and we're going to figure it out? But both of you want different things.
Yeah.
Now with me and my wife, for instance, we're like, whatever. That's how we are. We're like, let's try it. Okay. I say, hey, babe, you want to go to Africa? She's like, say the word. I'll pack my bag. She's like, oh, we should go live in Georgia. I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's try it. Now that's the feeling. That's the mindset we have. And that's why it's easy for us to just go like that. But if you have people who are set on their ways and two of them say, I want this and I want this, and you don't want the same things or you're not flexible, but then the sex is good, you're like, oh, we don't want the same thing, but the sex is good, so I'll stay. We don't want the same thing, but the money is good, so I'll stay. All those can change. Sex is good. One day she's sick or he's sick or he's not able to perform as good as he was, and you're like, it's time to roll.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very much the narrative here, and where we're told about love and emotion and all that shit, and it's like that's why there's so many damn issues here, because so exactly what you said, those emotions change, it comes and goes, and it needs to be less of an emotional decision, and maybe not all the way on the other end of the spectrum where it's just a business deal, or it's just, but it's just like. You have to be. It has to be
a balance. Yeah. There has to be a balance of emotion. Okay, I feel good about this person. There also has to be a balance of, are they able to tolerate me? There has to be that balance. Do they want kids? Because I want kids. They're gonna be disappointed. I'm gonna be disappointed if she doesn't want kids and I want kids. There has to be that balance. You both have to talk. And then there has to be counseling. That's part of the foundation. That's one of the problems people are running into. There has to be like some sort of marital counseling from someone who probably has good experience. Yeah. Someone like if you have parents who've been together for like 50, 40 years, they're probably in the best position to give you an advice. I mean, you might have seen everything gone wrong, but they've stuck together.
Yeah.
Ask them how they did it.
Right.
How have you stuck together? No matter how bad you've seen their relationships, my dad and mom, they used to fight. Like, I mean, physically. Like, they used to fight, but we would be out and we would hear them fighting, and you hear everything like getting broken and everything. And we'll be knocking on the door. Once they come out, they'll be laughing and she's going to make food for him. I mean, and we're like, what's wrong with these guys? Yeah. But they lock the door. They never let us see it.
Wow.
But they'll fight. And when they come out, they're both laughing and she's going to make food and she's saying, that's your food. And so I thought about it. I'm like, what's wrong with these people? But then that's all I have in my head now. And I told my wife when we got married, I said, we could be at the highest point of it, but please let's laugh after it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not easy to do. I mean, as far as like some just personality types or whatever it is, like there's people that hold on to grudges, and
I don't know anyone like that.
That's I mean, and that's probably the hardest thing. And what's your experience as far as like human behavior goes? Are there some people that will never get beyond that? Is that more of a maturity thing, or what is it to help people let go and understand? I don't know, man. Like I really try not to hold.
Even letting go, or is it like adapting? Like,
well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, just grudges. Like you can never do that if you hold on to grudges. You're not gonna be able to come out that room, hook me up with a beautiful dinner. You're gonna be pissed. And if you're not, and if you're putting on that facade that you are okay and you're giving me that dinner, and then shit just boils up next week for the same damn problem because you low key held on to that grudge. Like, what do you think of? Like, what advice do you give about people who hang on to grudges and your thoughts on that, man?
Well, when you're in any relationship, friendship, marriage, my advice has always been just take it like a cup of water. It could spill. You fill it back up. It'll spill sometime. You wipe it and fill it back up. Same thing. You could take a friendship, relationship, anything like that. Nothing is final. Ask yourself one question. Do you want that person dead? would you feel better? Okay, think about how you would feel if they were dead. What would you remember? Would you remember this one thing they did wrong? Or would you remember all the good times you had? Same thing. Just sometimes just think about that. Like, you know, you get it. There are a lot of people, you got mad at your husband or your wife or your boyfriend, and he just stepped out and got run over by a car. How would you feel? Would you be able to live with it? So that's one. The thought of mortality, the thought of never seeing that person always gives some sort of guidance, because you know that this thing called life is not forever. So cherish every good moment. I had a friend recently tell me, he was giving me all the reasons why all the stuff his wife is doing that he doesn't like. And he was just mad about it. He's like, I'm going to leave and this and that. And they're new. They're new in the relationship. They just got married. And I told him, I said, you know what? Is there one thing in this relationship that you like? Just one thing. Can you give me just one thing? He's like, bro, the sex is good. I'm like, you like it? Bro, that's good. I'm like, can you look for one more thing? Just one more thing? And he says, oh, the food is good. I'm like, bro, you got a whole package. You have sex and then you eat.
Yep.
That's a package right there. What else do you need? I'm like, you know what?
Time?
No. You have sex, you get tired, and then you go eat, right?
Roll over, take a bite of a sandwich, and come back to party.
You got your snack in your meal.
You know, you have everything. So I'm like, you have this package, bro. How about you do this for every time you remember something bad that she does? Do this. Do something so good, something that you really like. So for every time you think about the fact that she talks to you in a mean way, go have sex with her. Every time you think about she doesn't know how to dress, or she doesn't know how to do her hair or something, go have sex with her. Do that stuff you love over the stuff you don't love. So basically, highlight the positive features of that person over the negative. That's one of the problems in the world today. We think about everything bad that person is doing, and we forget what was good or what is good. Until we're far away from it, until you're completely away from it, you're like, that person actually had that good character that I liked, actually. So in the same way, if you think about how nice that person is, and you kind of consciously ignore, you might not be able to ignore it, but then just tell yourself, okay, you know what I'll do to you? Every time you're mean to me, can I say this on the mic?
It better be a cuss word.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
I will fuck the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Every time, say that. Like, literally, you just say that to yourself. And she's being so mean to you, and you just grab her and like,
yeah.
And she's like, what's wrong with you? Leave me alone. No, you're my wife. I'm about to have sex with you. Bend over.
There it is. There it is.
For every time. And at some point, you would find that person totally ignoring that part that you don't like, and sort of like building a love for that person all over. You know, because then your mind is now filled with this good thing about that person. So it's like highlighting the positivity and dropping the negativity. Just highlighting it, something over something. If you want to get milk out of a half glass full of milk, you want to fill it up with water. How do you do it? Do you know how you do it?
I don't.
A glass is half full of milk. You want to get the milk out, and you want to fill it with water, but you don't want to turn it out.
Okay.
No.
Drink that shit?
No. How do you do it? Do you know?
I don't think so.
Keep pouring water into it.
Oh.
But you're not turning it over, basically.
You're just letting it.
You're just letting it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay,
you're
I
just.
see you. I can see it.
So you're just pouring the water into it,
Mm-hmm.
and pouring the water into it, and soon you see the glass will be clear.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be water.
Wow.
Yeah.
That paints a beautiful visual.
So in the same way, just put that stuff that you like more into it. Just keep pouring it into it. She's bad, but she's good at sex. Okay, keep having sex, because now you're already into it. Now, if we throw away the foundational everything, you didn't get in because of sex. You got in because of anything else. But now you've seen so many things bad that you feel like, so think about what's good.
Yeah, and I mean something else that I think that might happen quite a bit is that where we're not like actively reflecting on things, like something that you are ultimately attracted to and what brought you to that relationship. Once you get into that relationship, it's that same exact quality that now annoys you. You know what I mean? So it's like whether it was the environment that changed or whatever it was that initially attracted you, then now you are now upset with that. Like that's a hard one to deal with, you know. And I'm a very like I got my quirks, you know what I mean? There's things that I do and it's like super charming, but maybe at a dose, you know what I mean? Once it becomes more, then it's like, damn, this guy doesn't ever shut the fuck up. You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, knowing that again, you can't necessarily change somebody. I can't really just go ahead and flip that switch and be less of myself when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
So as the other active party in this relationship, maybe give that person some space, or just remember that is that quality that I really love. And there's nothing necessarily that changed about that person. Something's changed within me to now not like that characteristic. You could just be stressed out or you not happy with where you're at. But rather than reflecting on that and like coming to terms with that, it's projected out as like, you're fucking annoying, you're a dick, you need to change, versus all right, let me see what's going on with where I'm at today versus where I'm at 2 years ago, and why is that quality not still charming or sexy or whatever it is, you know? I think that happens a lot.
Yeah, that definitely happens a lot. Some relationships thrive on being apart. Sometimes. Some things you have to let go just so you can come back to it. Some relationships thrive on one party being far away and the other being somewhere else. So let's say you get a job as a pilot, and somehow you and your wife would just build this thing where anytime you come back home, it's like, you know, my boyfriend just got back. You'd have that nice feeling of like, excuse me. You have that nice feeling of like, you know, reuniting. You know, some relationships thrive on that. Some other ways you could probably get over that, you know, feeling of someone annoying you is building a new habit. Could be a spiritual one, could be a physical one. Go out, work out every day. Between the hours, you think, you know, less interactions, work out, you know. When two people, when a woman is not getting pregnant, it's not always the woman's fault. It's 50% the man's fault, 50% the woman's fault. It could be low sperm count, it could be stress levels that's making the sperm not shoot to where it's supposed to get to. It could be, you know, the woman's stress levels as well. It could be so many things. So, and same thing with a relationship. You know, if you think, oh, it's that woman, it's what she's doing and she's pissing me off, you too have to work on yourself. What's your threshold? You have to get to a point where you could handle more things, and then, you know, go out, think a lot, do a lot of thinking, do things that take your mind off it. Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, anything meaningful you want to do would take some time. Whatever you want to do, any quick fix leads to death most times. Right. You know, you just want a quick one, and usually that's what leads to death.
Yeah, and any of those fixes really are going to come from within, you know, like you
Yeah.
can't control that exterior,
You can't.
you know, so it's like
Yeah.
you can change your perspective over the situation. You can attempt to change your environment, you know, you can do those things.
Yeah.
And all that happens within you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so you mentioned your degrees are in human psychology and behavior. Do you work in that field currently or?
Yes. Currently, I work with young adults who have severe emotional disturbance. I've worked with children with autism. I currently worked with children with autism. Um, but I also mostly what I've done most of my life is counseling in different parts of the world, in India, Nigeria. You know, I've created awareness into um, learning disability because when I was much younger, I grew up not. I was afraid of my math teacher, so um, I just didn't like maths. So I grew up being scared of maths.
Yeah.
So 2 times 2 is so easy, but if she asked me in a, scary way, I'll say I don't know.
Yeah.
And when I started studying psychology, I realized that that's called dyscalculia. And there is dysgraphia, there's dyspraxia, and there's dyslexia, and so many other ones like that. But dyslexia is the common one. But the fear for maths is dyscalculia.
Is it specific to learning it, or is it just more like if somebody instills fear and takes you out of a comfort zone, you can't function, you know? Because I can kind of see that with different ways that we manage different fit bars or our personalities, and some people lead with like, the employees are like, this fucker's always correct me. They're always going to tell me something I did wrong. So ultimately that person is going to be making all this noise with the blender because they're nervous and they're doing this, or coffee's going to taste like shit or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So is that kind of that similar thing? Like you can't learn because you're in fear, or?
Yes. Learning is a lot of times learning is based on the teacher. Is it a nice, peaceful environment? Is it a comfortable environment? And as kids, the mind is not yet built enough to handle a lot. So unfortunately, if a kid, that's why when you work with a kid that's traumatized, it's usually from a young age. Because as an adult or as a young adult, you just run away. You choose the flight option if it's too much. Now a kid can't really go anywhere, so they just seeing it just changes their life.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I had no option. I had to be there, and everybody would laugh at me. Oh, he doesn't know this, and so I just hated maths. So I have so much dreams. I would like to be an astronaut and all these great things, but there's a lot of calculation and all those things. Sure. So I always go the part where, do I have to do any maths or calculation? But when it comes to English, literature, anything else, oh yeah, I'm good.
All right, man. A couple more questions and we'll let you get out of here. So just one thing, like a lot of people, they want flexibility in their life. And you mentioned a couple times, you know, Hawaii, you're like, let's stay here. Now you're in Sierra Madre, you know, small town. And you're like, Georgia, your wife's like, all right, let's do it. How do you stay flexible? You know, in this day and age of like, you know, e-commerce and things happening online. Yeah. Okay. We see these people in Fiji working from the laptop or whatever. It doesn't really sound like you have a computer job where you can go from anywhere. So how do you stay flexible so that you can pick up and move and do your thing while still staying in the field that you're in? Or like, you know, how are you able to do that? Because I think a lot of people want that.
Yeah, people want that. First thing is, I would say, pick a career or a job, or pick a career that makes you important or makes you render a service. Always have a mind of service. So that way, anywhere you find yourself, You'd be like, oh, I can do something. You can walk into anywhere and say, oh, I know how to do this. Currently, I'm learning how to fly planes.
There we go.
So if I find myself anywhere, hey, I have a private pilot license. I have a commercial pilot license. They'll probably make me do a couple of solos and see how I fly, and and then they'll say, okay. So get a skill, get something. When I went to Hawaii, I couldn't work for the first 6 months. So I had to do handyman work. Now I realized in Hawaii, being a handyman was a big thing. I would do a little stuff and I'll get paid a lot. So I didn't even need to work when I could work because the jobs would pay me less. So just learning, knowing how to do construction, knowing how to break this stuff down and put it back on, fix it together, just gave me so anywhere I find myself in the world, I always tell my wife, anywhere in the world I find myself, I would use the skills that I've learned to make something. So now I have psychology, I have construction, I'm going to learn how to fly, and I'm going to add so many other things. So anywhere you go, you have something. And my wife being in the healthcare industry, she has the experience as well. Anywhere she goes, you need a nurse? Oh, I'm available. They might not pay as much, but most times, certain professions, you would always get something reasonable. So that creates an ability to be flexible. Now, you guys, for instance, in the fitness industry and food and beverage, you're always needed. People always need food. They always need to be fit medically. Doctors will always say, go drop some pounds and stuff like that. So you're always valuable as well. So if you moved anywhere, if you don't have anything to do first, you could just walk into any gym and say, hey.
Yeah, I mean, and what comes with that, like once you start learning and understand, having a growth mindset, like what comes with that is the sense of agency that you can do anything. And as soon as you get that confidence, and a lot of it is just like self-talk and knowing that what you know, whether you learned it, by going to a trade school, or you just were, eyes wide open and learning during your journey of life, like you have value to add to places. And once you can kind of understand that and really own that shit, you can do anything, man. You can really go anywhere. And a lot of the things that are holding you back are just the stories you're telling yourself about, what am I going to do around, away from my family, or what if I don't make this money? You don't even really have that thought about what if I don't make this money, because you know you can figure some shit out, and you just got to have that attitude about it.
That's the most important part. In Hawaii, there are people who are like in their 40s, 50s. They've never left the island. Yeah. They've never left. They're so scared. That's another thing. Don't be afraid to move from anywhere to anywhere at any time. Because if something happened and you had to move, you would move. So always just have an open mindset. What are you looking for in life? You want a house? What's the basic things we're looking for? Okay, let's say at the age of 50, you want probably someone who'll be there with you. Wake up in the morning with you. You want, nice kitchen so you can make your breakfast. Maybe a house as well. So you could, you want a house. If you want it big, you could dream big. If you want it small, cute house, you could dream small as well. What else? You want an active car, right? So at the age of 50, there's some things you want in place. Some want kids, some don't want. Some want to adopt, some just want to chill without kids. Just have a vision of what you want at a certain age, maybe 50, 60. And when you're at that age, look at it again. I wanted certain things by 30. And I always look at it. And somehow it's there, or it's getting there. So always kind of set that goal and tell yourself, anywhere I find myself, I'm on my way to that.
Wow. Yeah. I think if we were to look at everything you've just said as almost like a tree of the growth mindset, you first said to have a mind focused on service, and then to have the to ignore the fear of moving, like just to be willing to move and to get going. I think that those are just very like pivotal foundations that either as people, it's uncomfortable. It really is. But so either we ignore it or we work toward it, but we all have our different ways of doing it. And all that kind of just chalks up to like the hope of tomorrow and the hope of what I want right now and who I am today and who I want to be.
Right.
And including that all in that growth mindset. I think that's really important.
Yeah. One other thing is, as you grow, you'd realize so many things changing. And as it changes, sometimes it looks like, oh, this is not going towards where I want. But you have to always have that trust. And then if you look at the great people today, I mean, Jeff Bezos and some of these people with so much money, and if you're someone who wants money, think about what are they all doing? They're being of service. First mind of any, you're doing Fit Bar. First thing you thought, I want to serve people something that's healthy. Once you think of service, you've thought of money. Bill Gates, I want to create computers. I want to make this thing that people can easily go online and search for stuff. He's been of service. Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg, same thing. He was in school. Oh, people need to know how to get to each other, you know? And service. Once you think of service, you've thought of everything. Growth, you've thought of wealth, you've thought of so many things because people would pay for service. And people would even appreciate you for service. Bill Gates also has a foundation. Believe it or not, he probably makes more from that foundation because people give freely. And so he's getting paid from Microsoft, getting paid from Bill Gates, and Bill Clinton also has a huge foundation all over the world. Once you think of service, you're growing right there. Once you think of serving someone, if I woke up and I started cleaning the streets every morning, I would make a lot of money for free. I'm just cleaning the streets every morning. I'll get so much tips. I'll probably get more. Have you ever thought of that? If you just decided you're going to do something for free, one day someone would see you and say, you know what? I'll give you something.
Yeah. And it's a commitment to that service. And something else that's going to benefit is the relationships. If you're both going into a relationship with this idea of service, that's how it's, it can't be a one-way street of service. Both need to be involved in that that outlook. But your relationship will thrive as well. You should be providing value to that relationship and know that you do control that and recognize what you are bringing to the table as well as the other person. And man, I love that, man. It does all come back to service. And is there any last word that or words of advice you'd like to leave anybody with?
First is trust in yourself, but tell yourself that you're a human being. You're very fragile. Anything can break you and anything can make you. Have a sense of connection to a higher power. For some people, it's yoga. For some people, it's a temple or something. For me, it's Christianity. But I believe that there's a need for us to trust in something bigger than us. There's a need. There's a huge need for that. Because there are times when it'll get to a point where there's nothing else you could run to. And you can only, like when you're in some rat hole and you're like, oh, what can save me? You will be forced to talk to something. Some people will say, oh, God, if you're out there, I'm sorry. Please help me now. You didn't have to wait for that. You could have trusted, in that already. So that's also a huge part of my life. And I think that has helped me. And trusting in a higher power, which is God, that, he's going to be there and protect me and guide me and lead me. And another thing is, just be nice, be kind. In the world today, with the whole racial differences going on, I always tell people, I don't see. I mean, I don't mean that I don't see racism, but I take it that if you're mean to me, I'll be mean to you. If you're kind to me, I'll be kind to you. Now, I'm not going to judge you based on the color of your skin. But if I go somewhere and you treat me wrong and you treat someone else right, I would demand to ask why. Do they have something that I don't have? And if I get it, would you treat me how you treated them? You see? So I think that's one of the world just has to be a nicer place where everyone can be kind to each other. And with your better half or your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend or, someone you try to build a life with, ask yourself what you're doing in that relationship. What did you get in for? Did you get in simply for the pleasures of it or because it felt cool at the time? If you're not married, you can jet out. But if you're married, there's some things already intertwined. You probably bought a house together. You started a business together. You bought cars together, same name. See if you can work it out. And if it's not so deep, you can also come out of it. But take some time. If you haven't gotten into a relationship, build the foundation. Foundation is that's what's going to tell how long this house is going to be. Because it's a whole house you're building. Absolutely. So the foundation is going to tell how long this house will stay. What's going to push the house down. Some small wind or some little flaw and the house will wash away,
Absolutely, man. And,
yeah.
And, with all that being said, in order to build the foundation, like you mentioned, you need to understand why you're doing anything. What's the relationship you want? What's the business that you want to build? Who's the person that you want to become? And once you have that answer, that foundation looks differently, so you need to know that before you even start building the foundation. Would definitely recommend that as well.
Right.
But this was awesome, man. Great to have you on. Same. And any one of our customers at the Fit Bar, at the Space Bar, that tunes into the Barcode Collective, this is really amazing to have somebody come into the Fit Bar, us build a relationship and be able to have a conversation, share your story. And we want to do more of that. So if you are a Fit Bar customer, Space Bar customer, Barcode Collective, let us know, reach out, you have something to share and we want to hear about it. So know that this is a platform for you guys as well. So reach out, let us know what it is that you would like to share. We'd love to have you on here as well. It doesn't need to be in person. Technology, Zoom is killing it right now, so we can do that. But you can follow us at Barcode_Collective. See us in person at Fit Bar Cafe. Go to fitbarcafe.com to find those locations. Space Bar Wellness. Find Maddie at
Aloha Maddie or any Fit Bar. Anytime, I'm always at one of them.
You ain't finding Deni anywhere. He's incognito. So the only chance is maybe to bump into him at a Fit Bar. But until then, guys, thank you for your time, my friend. I appreciate it. Maddie, thank you for jumping on.
Thank you. I hope y'all were taking notes. That was amazing.
Rewind it, play it again. But appreciate all your guys' time. We are out.